All right, so first things first, I have a mom and dad too, so if everyone would wave for me, I can get this picture, and this makes my parents happy. This side's not waving. All right. Thanks, everybody. Anyway, good afternoon. It's fun to be here at center ice, ready for a puck drop. Who wants some Gopher hockey right now, huh? Yeah. Thank you, Dean Davis Blake, distinguished faculty up here on stage, students of the class of 2011, and most importantly, that group of folks here who could best be described as recipients of late-night text messages asking for more money, or hopefully the people who are nervously sitting here really hoping you guys get jobs so they don't become the Department of Postgraduate Housing. Of course, I'm talking about moms and dads. Welcome, welcome. When I first got the request to come to Minnesota in May, I assumed it must be to go ice fishing. All right, come on. I needed to do at least one cold weather joke, right? All right. But seriously, though, I was surprised. I mean, though I've respected Carlson from afar, I didn't really have any affiliation with the university before. But as I started to think about it, I realized you and I have a lot more in common than ever occurred to me in the first place. I mean, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, which is a place just as cold as here in Minnesota, but with even worse sports teams. I was raised on the taste of walleye. In Buffalo, the women are strong, but the children aren't necessarily above average. And I, too, borrowed a lot of money to go to college, only to graduate right in time for the entire economy to implode. And so when the folks here insisted that we should get to know each other, it started to actually make a lot of sense. But in the end, what choice did I have? I mean, who can say no to a Minnesotan, let alone a few hundred Minnesotans? And so to kick things off, I should probably establish a few credentials. I mean, why should you be listening to me in the first place? The dean listed a few of my accomplishments, but I think some of the most important ones were left off my resume. For example, when I was in college, I actually led my dorm in noise violations. I had my fake ID confiscated twice. I borrowed a lot of money to go to school, and I still can't figure out where all my work-study cash went. I actually got arrested in college once for an on-campus food fight. And the only activism I was involved with when I was in school is when they shut down our on-campus pub. To this day, it's funny, I never make my bed, I can't remember names well, and I eat horribly. Even worse, in 1998, I took my student loans that were supposed to be for grad school, and I used them to start a company and a hedge fund. And within the next 18 months, I made $12 million. However, in a period of 1 week, in the spring of 2000, I lost it all and found myself, 25 years old, so deeply in debt, I owed $4 million in my own name. That is a colossal screw-up, and it makes your student loan seem pretty insignificant by comparison. It took me 5 of the hardest, ugliest years of my life, sweating, scrapping, selling, just convincing anyone to deal with me, before eventually I clawed my way back to the February of 2005. I made it back to $0 of net worth. Exactly $0. I tell you now, you will never feel richer than when you're worth exactly $0. In fact, the last debt I repaid was to Sally Mae, the student loan borrower. And when I repaid it due to a clerical error, it turned out I had actually overpaid my loan by $23.82. So Sally Mae sent me a refund check. And I'm here to tell you that I've never cashed that check, actually. It's still on my refrigerator, because I just really like knowing that Sally Mae owes me money. Fast forward to today, and I run a venture capital and private equity firm I founded called Lowercase Capital. We manage over $1 billion, and I do it with just one other employee besides myself. And I run the whole thing from a small little ski town near Lake Tahoe called Truckee, California. And I never wear a suit. I never wear anything but cowboy shirts, jeans that are ripped, and sneakers. So how did I end up here? Was it all luck? Well, I'm a little bit conflicted, because if I say yes, it was all luck, then I get to sit down right now, we get to breeze through this whole thing, and we're that much faster onto the part where you guys all throw your hats in the air. But the truth is, it wasn't all luck. In fact, I think there's actually a formula for how this can work for each of us, and that success can be within the grasp of everyone in this room. Because after all, my undergraduate school and my graduate school experience weren't particularly inspiring from an academic perspective. I mean, I definitely wasn't a model student. Did I ace every test? Nope. Did I make it to every single class? Hardly. In college, I found out I had allergies. Very specifically, I had an allergy to being inside a classroom on a sunny spring day. So what was the secret of my success? Was it my GPA? No, I've been asked my shoe size in bowling alleys more frequently than I've been asked my GPA throughout the rest of my life. Your GPA only matters to people who have no other reason to find you interesting. And by the way, I think you're realizing now why they invite me to speak to you after your 4 years here, not at the beginning. So was it my major? Did I have some amazing major or double major? Not at all. I majored in the fluffiest pursuit I could find at my university. My major was actually called Humanities and International Affairs. And I got credit, college credit, for taking classes like Death, Dying, and the Healing Arts. Seriously, I never once ever touched Excel or learned how to do a macro or anything like that. But despite not being a particularly awesome student, I went on to kick oodles of ass and take boatloads of names. My career is an unqualified success. And yet I think that's within the grasp of everybody here, even if you're the kind of person who always comes up rolling snake eyes. So before I can dispense with all this advice I have that's required in order to make this a bona fide graduation speech, I think we need to agree right up front on our vocabulary. What's success anyway? Is success about making the most money? No. Money, for the most part, turns people into jerks. If you do become rich, the University Fundraising and Development Office will certainly want to stay in touch with you. And if you give enough money, you'll get your name on a plaque above the dirty laundry bin here in the men's locker room. But that still doesn't make you a great person, and it definitely doesn't mean anyone will like you. I mean, don't get me wrong. As I mentioned before, you're never going to feel richer than when you've paid off those credit cards and student loans. But after that, money tends to be pretty unfulfilling. Almost all the people I know who've made a lot of money, they turn into that guy. All right, well, you know the guy who pops his collar? And if it were up to him and you're wearing 2 shirts, he could pop both collars? That's the guy. So how will we know when we've done it right? What's the ultimate measure of success then? What's the key to success? Well, in my experience, quite simply, success is happiness. It all comes down to happiness. And I definitely don't mean that happiness that you feel when the Gophers take over on downs in their own red zone, as great as that feels. I mean that happiness that quite literally fills your lungs. The kind of happiness that makes a noise. It announces its arrival with a deep inhale and a deep exhale. That happiness. You know that happiness, right? That happiness is success because it turns out happy people get jobs. Happy people create. Happy people win. Happy people fall in love and raise families. They lead and change the world. Happy people get what they want because often happy people are the ones who realize they don't actually need much more than they already have, and they appreciate what they've got. Happy people are contagious. And every one of us here has the chance to be truly happy. Luckily for us, it wouldn't be much of a graduation speech if I didn't have a formula for how I think that can work for all of you. So let's dive right in. Step 1, Control-Alt-Delete. You know what it is, right? Luckily, we've got some computer literate people here. So we all know that Control-Alt-Delete is the nuclear option for your computer. And by the way, I'm a Mac geek, so it's Command-Option-Shift-Power. But to go on. Control-Alt-Delete takes your current state, wipes it out, reboots everything. Screen goes dead, comes back up, that funny little chime plays. Well, today's the chance to hit Control-Alt-Delete on your life. Your past mistakes will all get wiped out in a full reboot that can happen today. This goes both for your personal and professional issues. All of your work here at Carlson just earned you a full Control-Alt-Delete. So when you let go of those buttons and life boots back up, who do you want to be? How do you want people to describe you? Right now, you can choose. You can choose to get fit. You can choose to eat well. You can choose to learn a new sport or meet new people. You can choose to pursue an entirely new career path that has absolutely nothing to do with anything you've learned here. Today, you can push Control-Alt-Delete and start all over again. So now do me a favor right now. Close your eyes. No, seriously, close your eyes. Don't worry, no one's going to steal your tassel when you're not looking. Oh, wait, except for that guy. No. With your eyes closed, I want you to think of all of your regrets, your failures, the things you might have done differently. Think of that Jaeger shot that was one too many. Think of that Facebook message that was supposed to be private, but you screwed up and put it on a wall instead. Think of the heated arguments during your group projects that made your team look like Gary Busey's squad on Celebrity Apprentice. I want you to think of all the ways that you've felt boxed in, stereotyped, limited, prejudged. Now, with your eyes still closed, gather up all that stuff, all those negative things, and put them in a suitcase. Seriously, envision putting them all into a suitcase. Now close that suitcase and hand it to the person at the United Airlines counter. And why the United Airlines counter? Because the airlines are guaranteed to lose your baggage. Now open your eyes. We've gotten rid of all of our baggage, and we're ready to move on to step 2, being present. Now, have any of you ever seen an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting on TV? You kind of know the drill, like Dr. Drew and stuff. So the first classic step is admitting you have a problem. So we're going to hold our own addiction meeting here right now, and I'll start. Hi, my name is Chris. And this is the part where you guys say, hi, Chris. Nice. I'm a Twitter addict. It's been about 11 minutes since I've sent my last tweet, and I'm really jonesing to check my phone right now. In fact, sometimes when it's really bad, I get like the pocket buzzing, and I look and nothing actually buzzed, but I felt like it buzzed. Like, we're all like that these days, right? We can't wait to check our Facebook messages and see who responded to our post on Like a Little and see what's going on in email. We're all like that all the time. But every time I pick up that phone, I'm devoting some of my attention to it and away from the people I'm actually with. I mean, what if I picked up my phone right now and checked my messages right here in front of all of you? We could agree that'd be pretty lame, right? Picking up my phone right now says, hey, yeah, you're awesome, but I'm going to just look just in case there's anything, absolutely anything out there in the world that is more entertaining and valuable to me than looking at your face and hearing your voice. We owe each other our full attention. And why? It's because life is funnier when we're all laughing together. Love is more intense, and we're all smarter when we're paying attention. As one of the first investors in Twitter, believe me, I love when you put your 140 characters out into the universe. And I definitely believe that texting, tweeting, foursquaring, formspringing, Instagramming, daily boothing, and Facebooking all make the world a better place. But if you have to pick up your mobile in the presence of somebody else, include them. Tell them what you're laughing at. Tell them what you're typing back. And as soon as you hit send, put it down. In fact, don't just put it down and don't just put it on vibrate. Actually leave it. Maybe even leave it in another room for a few hours while you leave the house. I can see some of you starting to twitch already just at the thought of that. At night, try plugging it in another room, not next to your bed. And when you wake up in the morning, how about you go a half an hour before you actually look at it? Yeah, okay, now, who's having like a panic attack at the prospect of this? I am. I mean, totally. You're my people. We feel the same way about this stuff. But I tell you all this because when we're on our phones, we're not actually present. We miss things. Being present makes you smarter, funnier, and undeniably more attractive. When you're right here, right now, you notice things. You notice the nuance and the expressions of the people around you. You notice the things that might make you a new friend or get you hired or even give you a chance at hooking up. You notice the day and how wonderful it is. You notice the people around you who might not be as lucky as you are, and the people who work their asses off to make sure you succeed. Right now, take a moment, right here, to notice the energy of this day. Notice the optimism in this room, the celebration, the gratitude, the relief I can see on some of your faces. Feel the happy parents and grandparents who are here, the siblings who look up to you guys. Look at the smiles on the faces of these professors who feel so fulfilled to see you cross the stage. Now notice your own smiles. Some of you are wearing these, oh my God, I can't believe I survived 4 years smiles. And others of you have these very peaceful smiles that come with reflecting upon a job well done. You all deserve all of these smiles, so take a moment and just notice those smiles. And now that we've hit the reset button, and we're all right here, right now in this moment, it's time for step 3. Step 3 is to go on offense. Now, what do I mean by going on offense? Well, you guys all know sports. This is the Big Ten. You can't avoid sports here. You know what it means to be on offense. Offense is calling plays, managing the clock, keeping the other team on defense, reacting to you. Now take that term and apply it to the rest of your life. Let's take, for example, email. Is your email inbox offense? Is that playing offense? No. Inbox stuff is just defense the whole way. Imagine if you took your to-do list and you posted it on the door of your dorm room with a little pencil there and invited the entire world to come and add anything they wanted to your to-do list. Well, that's what your inbox is. It's a publicly posted to-do list where it's up to everybody else to impose their whim on you. And even worse, what happens is we get up and it's the very first thing we check. And so we get in there and we start doing stuff for all these other people, and yet along the way we've forgotten what we wanted to accomplish for ourselves. We haven't done the things that we know are important for us and for our goals. And so that stops now. It's time to close your email and write out your to-do list. I don't just mean your to-do list for work, I mean the big to-do list for your life. What do you want to get done? It's an awesome time in history to be authoring our own futures in real time. I mean, the internet makes it possible to be just 1 degree away from anyone in the world. Any one of you right now can send me a reply on Twitter if you had your phones out. And I'm that accessible. Any one of you right now could use the internet to become an expert in any subject at all. In 2007, back when I was at Google, I went from not knowing anything whatsoever about the wireless industry to leading a group that led a $4.7 billion project that turned Verizon and AT&T on their heads, sent the FCC spinning, and changed the landscape of wireless forever, paving the way for the apps we all have on our phones today. Never in history have there been fewer barriers in the way. No matter where we come from, what our parents did for a living, how much money we have, we all can be unqualified successes. So who do you want to talk to? Where do you want to spend your time? What do you want to learn? You just spent 4 years, maybe 5 or 6, but we'll just forget that. 4 years for the most part, taking the classes you were required to take. So now it's your turn to go on offense. What are you curious about? Where do you want to travel? What adventures do you want to go on? Which fears of yours do you want to tackle? You know, offense also means owning your personal brand. Your voice should be the first 2 or 3 responses when I search for your name on Twitter. On Google. But how do you get there? You tweet, you post, you blog, you comment, you engage in discussions. You own your own identity. The tools are there to have a public identity and to go on the record, proudly so, and stand for who you really are. I mean, think of it. I hire a lot of people for a lot of jobs. Imagine, why would I ever hire somebody just on the basis of a resume, when instead I can search for them online and get years and years worth of insight into who they really are and how they think and how their ideas evolve and how they react to the changing world we're in. Those tools exist for you to create your own authentic brand, completely within your control. And do it. I mean, sitting back and watching television, that's playing defense. But going outside and being with your friends, that's offense. Provoke, inspire. Don't just get involved, but inspire others to be involved. That's playing offense. The most successful people I know live off of their to-do lists. And so starting now, soon to be graduates, I want you to think about it like this. I want you to set the syllabus and course descriptions for the rest of your life. So on the path to happiness so far, we've wiped the slate clean, we've committed to be present, and now we're on offense. But what should we do with all this drive now? Well, this takes us to step 4, and that's being helpful. Undoubtedly, we live in scary times. The climate is indeed in crisis, and don't let any oil executive tell you otherwise. 1 in 7 people on this planet doesn't have access to clean water. That's 1 billion of your fellow humans who don't have access to clean water every day like you and I take for granted. An entire region of the world is in the throes of revolution. And hundreds of thousands of Americans are deployed overseas right now in dangerous wars. I mean, who would have ever thought our generation would see armed conflict that's resulted in the death of thousands of Americans? Let alone here at home, we're still mired in the worst housing crisis our nation has seen in decades. Jobs have gone away. Millions of Americans aren't just down on their luck, they're entirely systemically screwed right now. And it's not getting any better anytime soon. Recently, I actually bicycled across the United States from coast to coast, and I pedaled through so many small towns that have basically disappeared. Downtowns abandoned. I've met so many people who lost their homes, their jobs, their farms. It could be depressing, and yet at the same time, there's such an opportunity there. because it's never been easier for all of us to be helpful. And you know, almost selfishly, you feel better when you're helping others. Not only do you start to appreciate what you already have, but you empathize with their situation, and you feel empowered because you know you can help them. And as you know, helping others is hot. There's no denying that. It's attractive. Even as young people without any money, you have the tools at your disposal to have great impact on the world. My friend Scott Harrison had exactly $0 to his name and was sleeping on friends' couches when he started Charity Water. Charity Water is now an international charity that serves hundreds of thousands of the poorest people on the planet, bringing them clean water in 16 countries around the land. I've had the lucky privilege of working with Scott for 4 years now, hand in hand. And I'll tell you, I never feel more fulfilled than when I go with him to countries like Ethiopia and see firsthand the projects we build in the villages there that serve 1,500 to 1,700 people clean water. The day we turn on those wells, the children in those villages stop dying and start going to school. You know, it turns out helping people is also the easiest way to get a job. Every day, I get pitched dozens and dozens of new business plans, and I receive resumes from all over the world. And I'll admit to you, once you've seen a few thousand of them, they all look the same. My eyes glaze over. I can't help it. However, the people I do end up noticing are the ones who engage in conversation with me on Twitter and elsewhere. They're the people who blog, the people who start interesting conversations and add to the conversations that others have started. They're the people who actually dive in and start new projects without any hope for compensation or asking for anything selfishly. They're just looking to help. Starting from nothing to have material impact on the lives of their fellow humans. Those are the people who get the job offers. Those are the people who get recruited. Why? Because they demonstrate the initiative, the entrepreneurship, the awareness, the concern, the humility, the drive, the dedication, the willingness to go out and do something. That's who everyone wants on their team, the starters and the doers. You know, there's never been a better opportunity for each of us to change everything for everyone. As my favorite author, Buckminster Fuller, once wrote, "We are blessed with technology that would have been indescribable to our forefathers. We have the wherewithal, the know-it-all, to feed everybody, clothe everybody, and give every human on earth a chance. We know now what we could have never known before, that we now have the option for all humanity to make it successfully on this planet in this lifetime. Whether it is to be utopia or oblivion will be a touch-and-go relay race right up to the final moment. You in this room and your happy selves will guide us to utopia, and you'll make sure that every single person on this earth has that same shot at happiness that you have. I have no doubt in that. And as you're helpful and as you're good to others, you'll acquire the most valuable asset in the world, the most coveted and unobtainable treasure for so many business people today. And that is, number 5, the ability to sleep well at night. It's amazing that in 2011, ethics are still such a problem in business, probably even the problem in business. With every passing day, it becomes clearer and clearer how, over the last couple of years, individuals and their institutional sponsors defrauded investors and took ill-gotten gains off the table without a hint of sorrow or regret. Lies have been told to everyone involved, including Congress, and yet bonuses have never been bigger and an entire industry has been bailed out. And yet the primary malfeasants still have the gall to accuse the current administration of being meddlesome socialists. I know some of these jerks personally and professionally, and while it's easy to envy their private planes and their Aspen chalets, I'm here to assure you, to a one, every single one of them is haunted by demons. Each of them. Their public denials come at such compounding cost to their souls. In fact, every time they open their mouths, you can almost hear the batteries of their integrity draining. They're unhappy at home because their family and friends can smell the stink of dishonesty on their skin and in their clothes. Their relationships suffer, their kids grow distant. I'm here to tell you there is no price worth trading off for sleeping well at night. Worrying to cover up lies is the loneliest cancer in the world. And it's lonely because you can never tell anyone about it, even as it's metastasizing and eating you up inside. Don't cut corners. Don't BS. Don't lie. Be proud of yourself and stand for something. Money will come, trust me. but no amount of money in the world will help you sleep well at night if you haven't been legit. So now that you've been reset, you're in the here and now, you're going on offense, you're being helpful, and you're proud of who you are, it's time to take it one step further. The most important piece of advice I can give you on the path to happiness is not just be yourself, but be your weird self. It takes too much energy to be anything but your weird self. I mean, we spend too much of our lives trying to live up to the expectations of others. We buy things we don't really want with money we don't really have to impress people we don't really care about. Forget that. Forget what other people think. I mean, everyone here is weird, admit it. We each have our quirks. Celebrate those. Be goofy, tell corny jokes, dance awkwardly, express your half-baked thoughts, but most importantly, laugh about your failures. I'll kick it off. So once I was meeting the president of Ecuador, and I'm at his palace, and I'm really excited to show off my Spanish. And so he asked me how I arrived there that day. And I tell him, cogí el autobús, which in Spain, where I learned Spanish, means I caught the bus. But I've heard at least one chuckle in this room that indicates in Latin America, cogí el autobús doesn't mean I caught the bus. It actually means I made dirty, passionate love to the bus. It's our collection of screw-ups and idiosyncrasies and memories and stories and lessons learned that make us weird and interesting. I mean, weirdness is why we adore our friends. I can see the weirdness and mutual recognition of weirdness in your eyes as you look around at each other. Weirdness is what bonds us to our colleagues. Weirdness is what sets us apart and gets us hired. Be your unapologetically weird selves. In fact, being weird may even find you the ultimate happiness. That's expressed in an old saying whose author was lost long ago, but it goes like this. We're all a little weird, and life's a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness is compatible with ours, we join up with them, and we fall in mutual weirdness, and we call it love. Weirdness lies at the heart of all happiness. You want to be happy? Just go on with your weird self. And thus, we've arrived at my last piece of advice. We've rebooted, we're present, we've committed to go on offense, be helpful and ethical, and we're going to leave here being the sincere, authentic weirdos that we really are. So as we move on to the fun part, surrounded by your friends, your family, and your teachers here, I have just one more suggestion on your road to happiness and success, and that is be a proud Carlson Gopher. As you walk across this stage and shake hands with these distinguished faculty, you'll be graduating from one of the very top business schools in the country. You'll be part of an almost 100-year-old tradition. You weren't just trained here, you learned with a capital L. You learned about yourself and about others. You learned about the human condition and the impact you can have on it. You've all busted your collective asses to get here, and all the while maintained your trademark Minnesota humility and niceness. And so today is your day to break that up and just gloat a little bit, because you've earned it. So thanks for having me. I want you to be happy, sleep well, be weird, and congratulations, Gophers, the Carlson class of 2011.